The bread was wet. Noah Brooks pressed it against his chest anyway, fingers white from cold, rainwater soaking through the thin fabric of his donated shirt. His bare feet touched pavement that smelled like garbage and gasoline. 2 blocks away, Wall Street glowed gold through the storm. Men in suits worth more than oxygen hurried past the alley entrance, eyes locked on screens that told them they mattered. Noah didn't matter. He knew this the way he knew hunger, constantly, without question. The boy was 9 years old, no shoes, no coat, no one coming to find him. He crouched low behind a dumpster, breaking the bread into pieces, rationing what wouldn't last. His stomach twisted. The rain hammered harder. Somewhere above him, apartments with heated floors held families who'd never touched dirt with naked skin. Hi, friend. Before we continue the story, kindly tell us where are you watching from. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that inspire, because the next one might change how you see the world. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. Your story matters too. Noah's mother used to say invisible people see everything. She'd been invisible too, until pneumonia made her silent forever. 2 years now. Sometimes he still heard her cough echoing in subway tunnels. He lifted the bread to his mouth. That's when the sound hit. A thud. Heavy. Wrong. Then a gasp that didn't finish. Noah froze, bread hovering inches from his lips. Across the alley, something moved near the brick wall. Not a rat. Not wind. A man. Collapsing. His expensive coat scraped against wet stone as his body folded sideways. One hand clawed at his chest. The other slapped concrete, fingers spreading wide like he was trying to grab the ground itself. Noah's throat closed. The man's face turned gray. Not movie gray. Real gray. Death gray. People walked past the alley entrance, shoulders hunched against rain, eyes forward. No one turned. The man tried to speak. His mouth opened. Nothing came out but a wet, choking sound. Noah had heard that sound before. The night his mother stopped breathing, she'd made the exact same noise. His legs moved before his brain caught up. What would you do if the only person who could save a life was the person no one believed existed? Noah's knees hit water. He slid next to the man, hands shaking so hard he couldn't steady them. Up close, the man looked ancient. 70, maybe older. His tie cost more than every meal Noah had stolen in a month. Gold cufflinks caught streetlight. His wedding ring gleamed. Someone loved this man. Someone was waiting for him to come home. "Sir?" Noah whispered. The man's eyes snapped open, wild, terrified, unfocused. His chest heaved once, twice, then stopped moving. Panic burned through Noah's ribs. He grabbed the bread from his pocket, thrust it forward like an offering. Food helped, right? Food always helped. The man's fingers twitched toward it, then fell. The bread dropped into a puddle, dissolved into mush. Noah stared at it. His last meal. Gone. But the man wasn't breathing. Food wouldn't fix this. Time would. Noah scrambled to his feet, legs slipping on wet pavement. He bolted out of the alley, bare feet slapping concrete, rain blinding him. His chest burned, his vision blurred. He crashed through the door of the corner pharmacy so hard the bell screamed. The cashier, a woman with tired eyes and box-dyed hair, looked up, annoyed. "We're closing." Noah couldn't speak. His lungs wouldn't pull air fast enough. He dug into his pocket, fingers finding the thing he swore he'd never use. A $50 bill. Crumpled. Soft from being folded 1,000 times. The last thing his mother ever gave him. Her final shift at the diner, hours before she got sick. She'd pressed it into his palm and said, "This is for emergencies only." He slammed it on the counter, pointed back toward the alley. His eyes said everything his mouth couldn't. The cashier's face changed. She saw something in the boy's expression that cut through irritation, through exhaustion, through every reason to say no. She grabbed the phone. Noah didn't wait. He ran back into the rain, legs burning, heart hammering against his ribs like it wanted out. By the time he reached the alley, sirens were already screaming in the distance. Red and blue lights sliced through the storm. The man still wasn't moving. Noah pressed himself against the wall, out of sight, chest heaving. His vision went dark at the edges. His stomach twisted so hard he thought he'd vomit. Paramedics rushed in. Voices shouted medical terms Noah didn't understand. Someone yelled, "Clear!" and the man's body jerked. Noah didn't stay to watch. He turned and ran. He'd given everything to save a stranger. But what if saving someone destroyed him instead? Noah disappeared. Not metaphorically. Actually disappeared. He crawled under a fire escape 3 blocks away and pulled a torn tarp over his body. His fingers were numb. His feet bled from running. The $50 was gone. The bread was gone. He had nothing. Again. His chest hurt, but not from running. From something deeper, something that felt like his ribs were cracking open from the inside. What if he'd done the wrong thing? What if the man died anyway and Noah starved for nothing? His mother's voice whispered in his head. "You did the right thing, baby. You always do." But she was dead, and doing the right thing hadn't saved her. Noah curled into a ball, shivering so hard his teeth cracked together. Rain hammered the tarp above him. Somewhere in the distance, ambulance sirens faded. He closed his eyes. Sleep came slow, cold, painful. When he woke, the sun was out. His stomach screamed. His throat felt like sandpaper. He crawled out from under the fire escape, blinking against light that felt like knives. The world moved on. People walked to work, bought coffee, complained about traffic. Noah limped back toward the alley, legs stiff, feet raw. The man was gone. No blood, no body. Just wet pavement drying in the sun. Had he imagined it? No, the bread was still there, and soggy, ruined, proof it happened. Noah sank to his knees. He didn't know if the man lived. He didn't know if it mattered. All he knew was that he'd sacrificed everything, and no one would ever know his name. Days blurred together. Noah stole food from dumpsters, drank from public fountains, slept in subway tunnels when the cold got too sharp. At night he dreamed of the man's gray face, and woke up wondering if saving a life was worth losing your own. He'd vanished into the city like smoke, but someone was looking. And they wouldn't stop until they found him. The man survived. His name was Harold Whitmore, and Noah had no idea who that was. Harold woke up 3 days later in a private hospital room with machines breathing for him and IV lines snaking into his arms. His son sat beside the bed, face hollow, eyes red. Evan Whitmore hadn't slept since the call came. His father, the man who built empires, who never showed weakness, who taught Evan that power meant never needing anyone, had almost died alone in an alley. And Evan hadn't been there. He'd been in a meeting, talking about profit margins, while his father's heart stopped. Doctors said 5 more minutes and Harold would have been gone. Someone saved him, but no one knew who. Evan stood in the hospital hallway, staring at the security footage on his phone. Grainy, dark, rain distorting everything. But there, a blur, small, fast, barefoot, a child. Evan's chest tightened. He replayed the footage 20 times. 30, 50. The boy ran into the pharmacy, slammed something on the counter, ran back out, then vanished. Evan called the pharmacy. The cashier remembered. Skinny kid, soaking wet, didn't say a word, just put down a 50 and pointed. Did you get a name? No, he was gone before I could ask. Evan stared at the phone. A homeless child saved his father's life and disappeared. That thought burned through him like acid. Evan had everything: money, power, influence. He owned buildings in 6 cities. His name opened doors most people didn't know existed. But a boy with nothing had done what Evan couldn't. He'd been there. Evan didn't sleep that night, or the next. He canceled meetings in Los Angeles, ignored calls from investors in Seattle. Let emails from Dallas and Miami pile up unanswered. He wanted one thing: to find the boy who saved his father, not to pay him, not to thank him, to understand how someone with nothing could give everything. The most powerful man in New York was about to learn that finding someone invisible required becoming someone different. Evan Whitmore shut down his entire New York operation. Not permanently, but enough that people noticed. Board members called, partners demanded explanations, investors questioned his priorities. Evan ignored them all. He hired private investigators, security teams, street outreach workers. He put up flyers, offered rewards, flooded social media with the grainy footage. Nothing. The boy had vanished like he never existed. Evan stood in the alley where his father collapsed, rain soaking through his $1,500 suit. He didn't care. He pressed his hand against the brick wall, trying to see what the boy saw. Nothing. Just wet stone and garbage. But the boy had been here, had knelt in this exact spot, had given up everything. Evan's phone buzzed, another email about a delayed acquisition, another reminder that the world expected him to move on. He turned the phone off. His father was recovering, slowly, barely, but alive, because of a child no one noticed. Evan walked the streets every day, morning, afternoon, night. He checked alleys, subway entrances, shelters. He saw dozens of homeless children. None of them were the boy. Some ran when they saw him. Others begged. A few tried to con him, claiming they were the hero. Evan knew they weren't. He'd memorized the footage, the way the boy moved, the panic in his posture, the desperation. That wasn't something you could fake. Weeks passed. Evan's obsession deepened. His assistant quit. His business partners threatened to remove him. His father, still weak, still recovering, begged him to stop. "You're destroying yourself," Harold whispered from his hospital bed. Evan looked at him, at the machines keeping him alive, at the frailty Evan had ignored for years. "He saved you," Evan said quietly, "and I can't even find him." Harold's hand trembled as he reached for his son's. "Maybe he doesn't want to be found." Evan pulled away. "Then I'll keep looking until he does." He left the hospital and walked back into the rain. Somewhere in this city, a boy was cold, hungry, alone. And Evan Whitmore, a man who'd built skyscrapers and shaped economies, couldn't do a damn thing about it. Yet. Evan had all the power in the world, but finding one invisible boy would require losing everything he thought power meant. The black SUV rolled to a stop at the alley entrance. Noah saw it from half a block away, and his body reacted before his mind caught up. He dropped the apple he'd been holding, stolen from a fruit stand 3 streets over, and ran. His bare feet knew these streets better than anyone in a car ever could. Left into the narrow passage between buildings, right through the loading dock, under the fence with the loose panel. Gone. The SUV didn't follow. It happened again 2 days later. Noah was crouched behind a dumpster near the pharmacy, waiting for the morning trash run, when the engine sound made his spine lock. Same SUV, same slow crawl down the street. This time, a man in a suit stepped out. Not a cop. Cops moved different. This man moved like he was tired, like he'd been searching too long. Noah pressed himself against the wall, heart slamming against his ribs. The man walked to the exact spot where Harold had collapsed. He stood there, just stood there, staring at the ground like it held answers. Then he looked up, right at Noah's hiding spot. Their eyes met for half a second. Noah bolted. He heard the man shout something. Footsteps pounded behind him, heavy, fast, but not fast enough. Noah knew every crack in the pavement, every corner, every place adults couldn't fit. He lost the man in 90 seconds, but the SUV kept coming back. Every morning, different streets, different alleys, always searching. Noah stopped sleeping in the same place twice, stopped going to the spots where food was easy, stopped trusting the rhythm he'd built to survive. Fear became his new routine. Whoever was looking for him had money, resources, time. Noah had none of those things. He had speed, silence, and the crushing certainty that being found meant losing the only thing he had left, his invisibility. 1 week passed, then 2. The searches got closer. Noah started making mistakes, stumbling when he should have been steady, hesitating when he should have run. Hunger did that. So did fear. He crouched in a subway tunnel one night, shivering so hard his teeth rattled. Trains screamed past. People above him laughed, lived, existed in ways Noah couldn't remember. He closed his eyes, wondered if disappearing forever might be easier than running. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. More. Noah's legs gave out. Not from exhaustion, from the certainty that this was it. The running was over. He turned. The man stood at the tunnel entrance, silhouetted against weak streetlight. Evan Whitmore. Though Noah didn't know his name. Didn't know anything except that this man wouldn't stop. Evan raised both hands, palms out, empty. "I'm not here to hurt you." Noah's back hit the tunnel wall. Nowhere left to go. Trains roared past, shaking the ground beneath his feet. Evan took 1 step forward, then stopped, like he understood that closing the distance too fast would shatter whatever fragile moment this was. "You saved my father," Evan said. His voice cracked on the word, father. "I just want to talk." Noah's throat tightened. Talk meant questions. Questions meant systems. Systems meant losing control. "I didn't do anything," Noah whispered. Evan's face twisted, not with anger, with something worse, grief. "You gave up your last $50, Evan said. "You ran barefoot through the rain. You didn't leave your name, didn't ask for anything." He took another step. "Why?" The question hung between them like broken glass. Noah stared at this man in his expensive suit, standing in a subway tunnel at midnight, asking why a homeless child would save a stranger. The answer burned in Noah's chest. "Because no one saved my mom." The words came out flat, hollow, true. Evan flinched like he'd been hit. Noah pressed harder against the wall, feeling the cold concrete through his thin shirt. His vision blurred. Not from tears, from exhaustion that had lived in his bones for 2 years. "She got sick," Noah continued, voice barely audible over the distant rumble of trains. "Pneumonia. I tried to get help. Knocked on doors. Asked strangers. No one stopped. No one looked." He met Evan's eyes. "She died in an alley just like your dad almost did. So when I saw him falling, I couldn't let it happen again." Silence swallowed the tunnel. Evan's hands dropped to his sides. His shoulders sagged. All the power, all the money, all the control he'd spent his life building, none of it mattered here. A 9-year-old boy had taught him what mercy looked like, and it was devastating. Evan knelt, slowly, until he was eye level with Noah, until the space between them felt less like hunter and prey and more like 2 people drowning in the same ocean. "I'm sorry," Evan said. "I'm sorry no one saved her. I'm sorry you had to carry that, and I'm sorry it took me this long to find you." Noah didn't move. "What do you want from me?" His voice shook. Evan's jaw tightened. He looked at this boy, barefoot, starving, terrified, and realized the question wasn't what he wanted. It was what Noah deserved. "I want to help," Evan said. Noah laughed, sharp, bitter, a sound too old for his body. "Everyone says that. Then they disappear." "I won't." "You don't know that." "You're right." Evan's voice steadied. "I don't, but I'm here, and I'm not leaving until you let me try." Noah stared at him, searching for the lie, the angle, the moment this powerful man would realize helping a street kid wasn't worth the effort. He didn't find it. Instead, he saw something he hadn't seen in 2 years. someone who stayed. Saving a life was the easy part. Saving a future would cost Evan everything he thought power meant. The system fought back. Evan thought money solved problems. It always had. Write a check, make a call, open a door. Not this time. He sat across from a woman named Mrs. Daniels in a child services office that smelled like burnt coffee and defeat. Her desk was buried under folders. Her eyes were buried under exhaustion. "You can't just take custody of a child," she said, not unkindly, just tired. "There's a process." "I understand that," Evan replied. "I'm willing to go through it." "Are you married?" "No." "Do you have experience with children?" "No." "Have you completed the required background checks, home study, parenting classes?" Evan's jaw tightened. "I can have all of that done in a week." Mrs. Daniels leaned back in her chair. "Mr. Whitmore, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but this boy needs stability. Not a billionaire's charity project." The words hit like a fist. "This isn't charity." "Then what is it?" Evan didn't have an answer that fit her forms. Noah sat outside the office on a plastic chair, wearing donated clothes that didn't fit, eating a sandwich Evan had bought him. His eyes tracked every person who walked past, every exit, every escape route. He didn't trust this. And the system didn't trust Evan. Days became weeks. Meetings piled up. Bureaucrats asked questions Evan didn't know how to answer. Background checks took longer than promised. Home studies required changes to his penthouse that couldn't be done overnight. Every delay felt like failure. Worse, people started talking. Reporters caught wind of the story. Headlines twisted it into something ugly. "Billionaire tries to buy homeless boy." Whitmore's PR stunt exposed. Lawyers appeared, some wanting to help, others wanting to profit. A distant relative of Noah's mother, someone who'd never shown up when she was alive, suddenly demanded custody. For the settlement money, not the boy. Evan spent a fortune on legal fees, blocked reporters, fought accusations he didn't understand. Through it all, Noah watched, silent, waiting for the moment Evan would give up. One night, Evan sat in his penthouse staring at the city lights, phone ringing with another crisis he didn't have energy to solve. His business partners had drafted a vote to remove him. His father, still recovering, had begged him to stop destroying himself. Everyone wanted him to quit. Move on. Let the system handle it. Evan thought about that. Really thought about it. He could write Noah a check, set up a trust, make sure he had money for college, wash his hands of the complications. It would be easier, cleaner, expected. His phone buzzed. A text from the temporary foster home where Noah was staying. "He's not eating, won't talk. Just sits by the window." Evan stared at those words. Then he stood up, grabbed his coat, and walked out. Evan had built empires, but tearing down the walls between power and humanity would cost him everything. Evan didn't call ahead. He showed up at the foster home at 11 at night, suit wrinkled, tie gone, looking like a man who'd run out of answers. The foster mother, a kind woman named Ms. Patricia, opened the door, surprised. "Mr. Whitmore, visiting hours are—" "I need to see him." Something in Evan's voice stopped her objection. She led him upstairs. Noah sat on the edge of a small bed in a room he shared with 2 other boys. Both were asleep. Noah wasn't. He stared out the window at nothing. Fingers, gripping the blanket like it might disappear. He looked up when Evan entered. No surprise, no relief, just exhaustion. "You came back," Noah said, flat. "I told you I would." "Everyone says that." Evan sat down on the floor, not on the bed, not standing. On the floor, back against the wall, level with Noah's eyes. "I know," Evan said. "And I know you don't believe me. You shouldn't. You've been lied to your whole life." Noah didn't argue. "But I'm not everyone," Evan continued. "And I'm not giving up. Not because you saved my father, not because it makes me feel good, but because you deserve someone who stays." Noah's hands shook. Why do you care? Evan thought about lying, about saying something noble, something that sounded right. But Noah had lived through enough lies. Because I've spent my whole life building things, Evan said. Buildings, companies, wealth. And none of it mattered when my father almost died alone in an alley. He met Noah's eyes. You mattered. A 9-year-old kid with nothing. You did what I couldn't, and I realized something. What? That I've been measuring my life wrong. Silence stretched between them. Noah's voice came out small, broken. What if I mess up? What if I'm too broken to fix? Evan's throat tightened. Then we'll be broken together. 3 weeks later, the judge signed the papers. Evan Whitmore legally adopted Noah Brooks. No press release. No publicity. Just 2 people sitting in a courtroom, rewriting both their futures. But Evan didn't stop there. He shut down his most profitable venture in Manhattan. The building, 12 stories of pristine offices, was gutted, redesigned, rebuilt. It reopened 6 months later as the Amara Brooks Medical and Housing Center, named after Noah's mother. Free health care for homeless children, permanent housing, education, mental health support, staffed, funded, real. Evan didn't put his name on it. He put hers. The woman, no one saved. Harold Whitmore recovered slowly, moved into a quieter home where he could heal, where his son visited every week, and where Noah came too. The old man and the boy sat together often. Didn't talk much, just existed in the same space. 2 people who'd almost died. Saved by a child who'd given everything. Wealth couldn't buy meaning, but sacrifice could create it. Years passed. Noah grew up in a home with heat, with food, with someone who stayed. He didn't forget the streets, didn't forget the cold, didn't forget his mother's cough echoing in subway tunnels. But he learned something new. That survival didn't have to be the only goal. Evan never tried to erase Noah's past, never pretended the trauma didn't exist. They went to therapy together, talked through the hard nights, sat in silence when words didn't work. And slowly, Noah learned to trust. Not perfectly, not without setbacks, but enough. The Amara Brooks Center became a landmark, not because of its architecture, because of what it did. Hundreds of children passed through its doors, found safety, found futures. Most people didn't know the story behind it. They didn't know about a barefoot boy in an alley, about a $50 bill, about a billionaire who learned that power meant nothing if it wasn't used to lift others. They just saw a building. But Noah and Evan knew. One afternoon, Evan and Noah walked through Central Park with Harold, who moved slower now but smiled more. A reporter spotted them, recognized Evan. "Mr. Whitmore," she called, "can I ask you a question?" Evan tensed. Noah's hand tightened on Harold's wheelchair handle. "What deal are you most proud of?" she asked. Evan looked at Noah, then at his father, then back at the reporter. "The night a barefoot boy taught me what wealth actually means." The reporter blinked, confused. Evan didn't explain. He just kept walking. Because some things couldn't be reduced to headlines. Some things lived in the quiet moments, in the choice to stay when leaving was easier, in the decision to sacrifice comfort for connection. Noah didn't want to be famous, didn't want recognition. He just wanted to exist in a world where people like his mother didn't die alone. And slowly, with Evan's help, he was building that world. One person at a time. The boy who'd been invisible his whole life didn't need to be seen. He just needed to matter, and he did. Not because someone powerful noticed him, but because he'd reminded someone powerful what actually mattered. Years later, the Amara Brooks Center expanded. New locations, new cities. Noah worked there as an adult, not as a symbol, as someone who understood, who'd lived through the cold, the hunger, the invisibility, and who made sure no one else had to. Evan retired eventually, gave most of his fortune away, kept enough to live simply. He and Noah still had dinner every week, still sat in comfortable silence, still remembered the night in a subway tunnel when two broken people decided to try being whole together. Harold lived to 93, passed peacefully, surrounded by family. The family that wouldn't have existed without a boy who ran barefoot through the rain. At the funeral, Noah stood beside Evan and said nothing. Didn't need to. His presence was the thank you Harold never needed to hear, because he'd known it already. The smallest hands had carried the greatest courage and changed everything. That's the story we forget to tell. That power doesn't come from what you own. It comes from what you're willing to give. Noah gave everything when he had nothing, and in return, he got the one thing that matters: someone who stayed. If this story moved you, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next one might change how you see the world. And maybe, just maybe, inspire you to be someone who stays too.